Have you ever followed a rule so literally it broke the entire system? For several summers, I worked at an overnight tech camp run by a local college. If you've never worked at a camp like that, the routine is simple. You teach robotics and programming during the day, then switch into camp games, skits, and evening chaos at night. The pay was always weekly, no matter how many hours you ended up working. Sometimes you were on overnight duty, sometimes you weren't, but the weekly rate covered everything. Nobody tracked exact hours, and nobody expected perfection. It balanced out. My role was teaching a hardware-based class where each student received their own kit to take home at the end of the week. The problem was that the hardware was famously unreliable. About a quarter of the units failed every day. Some components had a failure rate so high you could practically flip a coin to predict whether they would work longer than a few hours. If a student got lucky, they breezed through the week. If they weren't, they ended up in a frustrating cycle of repairs. Parents, understandably, expected the kit to work perfectly by pickup on Friday. They weren't about to ship it somewhere for repairs later. That meant a lot of the responsibility fell on me. So on nights off, breaks, downtime, whatever I had, I headed to my classroom to fix kit after kit. It was tedious but manageable. I was being paid for the whole week, and the air-conditioned room was a break from supervising excited kids. At the end of each session, families left happy, and I felt like I had done something worthwhile. Everyone pitched in extra time in their own way. Counselors helped with skits, joined night activities even when off-duty, brainstormed new games, or simply supported the team when someone was overwhelmed. None of this was required. It was just part of the culture. The summers were exhausting, yes, but they were also some of the most rewarding weeks of my life. Then, the administration changed everything. Before the season started, they announced that counselors would now be paid hourly instead of weekly. The news confused all of us. That wasn't how camps operated. Tracking hours in that environment made no practical sense. A rumor spread that someone from the previous year complained about unpaid time, but nobody knew the truth. Our director tried to reassure us by showing the new hourly rate. On paper, it was higher than what the weekly rate worked out to. It looked like we'd all get a raise. I didn't question it too much. More money sounded good. Training week arrived, and that's when we heard the rule that changed everything. Anyone not working overnight must clock out at exactly 5 p.m. We assumed it was a guideline. Clock out once your tasks are finished. Nobody actually believed they meant it literally until the very first day. My shift technically ended at 5, but I stayed a few minutes to tidy my classroom and prepare the stack of broken kits waiting for repairs. At 5:12, an administrator walked in. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Cleaning up," I said. "Then I've got to..." "Did you clock out?" "Not yet, but you must clock out at 5. Everything in my head shifted in that moment. I wasn't being paid for a week of work anymore. I was being paid for exact hours, and I was not allowed to go over them. If they didn't want me working after 5, then I wouldn't. "Okay," I said. I stopped immediately, left the room exactly as it was, locked the door, and walked away. He warned me not to do it again, or I'd face consequences. It quickly became clear what was really happening. The higher hourly rate was designed to convince returning staff they'd earn more, but by capping hours tightly, administration ensured that everyone made significantly less per week than before. Meanwhile, overnight counselors, whose jobs required far less prep work, made nearly double simply because their shift crossed midnight. The staff was furious, and everything that made camp special disappeared overnight. No one stayed late to help. No one ran extra activities. No one joined evening events on their night off. People left at 5 o'clock sharp and retreated to their rooms or left campus entirely. My class was hit the hardest. I no longer repaired kits outside of scheduled hours. I only worked on them during class time. The pace slowed dramatically. We completed barely half the curriculum. Several students went home with kits that still didn't work. I felt awful, but I didn't have the hours to fix them. Parents complained in droves. The director defended us, but there wasn't much she could do. The system forced our hands. By the end of the summer, almost every experienced counselor, along with all directors and leads, quit. The camp technically continued, but the spirit that made it worth doing had vanished. It all started with 4 words: "You must clock out."